Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Ringside Ramble podcast. I'm Derek,
And I'm Cole.
and me and Cole just so happen to have pretty much back-to-back birthdays, or was it back-to-back? Were
Yeah,
you the
back to
11th
back
or
back
12th?
back to back on the 11th.
So the 10th and the 11th. So little birthday edition of the podcast here. Not that that matters. We're still going to talk about miserable wrestling, but it is what it is. So anyway, there's been some stuff that has happened since the last time we talked, and there just so happens to be a pay-per-view this Sunday, and I don't think either one of us care, especially not me. I couldn't care less, but
Mm,
regardless, we're going to do our predictions. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right into that off of the bat here. So I don't know if these matches are in order. We're both going off of Wikipedia if you guys care to follow along with us here. So in the first match, you have Bobby Lashley, who's your WWE champion, facing Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman in a triple threat match. What's your prediction for this one?
um, honestly, I think maybe they're going to give McIntyre a shot on this one. For the triple
Really? You
threat.
think they're going to give it back to him, huh?
I think they're going to give him. I think they're giving it back to him for a little bit,
Wow.
just like have his 15 minutes of fame, and then Bobby Lashley's going to come back on SummerSlam.
Wow. See, that was the thing. I think that Lashley should hold it until SummerSlam, but I
hmm
also could see them giving it to Drew and then Lashley taking it at SummerSlam and holding it for a long time after that. That could potentially be where they're going. So I see what you're saying there. I'm gonna go the safe route and pick Bobby, but I definitely see that as a possibility. It'd be interesting if they did that, especially coming out of SummerSlam, and if Bobby does end up regaining, and who's next for him? So next match, or did you have something to say?
I mean, not really. You seem like just your typical simple triple threat match for the WWE Championship. Um, Personally, I wish they'd put Cesaro instead of Braun Strowman, but I guess having your big man to torture everybody else works out all right. But I think they're gonna try. I think with giving Drew McIntyre the championship and giving him a little shot. Um, I think that'll be good. But then again, we're talking WWE creative here, so uh,
Yeah,
anything can happen at this point.
I wish they would put Cesaro on Raw instead of SmackDown because there's zero chance he wins the
Absolutely.
Universal Championship. Zero chance. So I mean, not that they should take the title off of Bobby, but if you put Cesaro on Raw, he could have a more believable story. You know what I mean?
Right.
It just it is what it is. But anyway, so second match, Bianca Belair versus Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship. I think this is a simple one. I
Yeah.
think it's Bianca.
I'm Bianca. Clearly, I mean Bianca. She can cut a promo. She's really good with gymnastics. She's a really good athlete. Bayley. They did a really terrible job using her at WrestleMania. I mean, she wasn't even wrestling. I'm trying to understand why she's wrestling this one, but I guess she just wants another match. Just want one of those, contractually obligated, 3 matches a year type of thing. Who knows? But definitely Bianca Belair and Bayley just going to be the jobber on this one.
Yeah, but well, I really couldn't care less about this. I mean, I'm just being honest. I couldn't care less.
Yeah.
Next match, Rhea Ripley, who is your Raw Women's Champion, versus Asuka versus Charlotte. What's your thoughts on this one here?
I definitely think that now that Charlotte's back, they're going to try to give her another little push on this one. So I'm going towards Charlotte Flair on it.
I got a specific one for this. I think that they're gonna have Rhea Ripley retained by disqualification. And I think they're going to build that story between Charlotte and Rhea heading into SummerSlam, is I
hmm
think where they're going here. So I'm going to have Rhea retain, but it's not going to be a clear victory. And I think they're just going to have Asuka go away,
Be it,
which is
yeah,
the
be a
right thing.
jobber. Yeah.
Well, I guess not jobber's the right thing because they don't know how to use her, but I'm saying I would rather you not be on TV if you don't know how to use somebody than have them,
Hmm.
waste their talent. So, and then the next one you got Dolph Ziggler, and I'm calling him Bobby Roode. I don't know why they changed his name to Robert Roode. That does not sound right to me. I'm calling him Bobby. Defend the SmackDown Tag Team Championships versus the the Mysterios, Ray and son Dominic. What do you think for this one?
Um, I really couldn't tell you because this is one of those matches that really it could go either way. For me personally, it's kind of really split down the middle. So, I'm going to go out on a limb and say the Mysterios, but I feel like that the Dirty Dogs could retain the title regardless either way. Um, but I'm going to lean more towards Ray and Dominic.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Ray and Dominic get the win here too. It's the right thing. It's common sense in my opinion. You have a father and son, at the same time. I would give them this chance to hold the titles together while they can, because obviously Ray's not gonna be here forever. Um, and I don't mean dead. I mean wrestling. So
Yeah.
you get what I'm saying. So I,
Uh
I'm gonna I'm gonna go and say that the Mysterios win that one. Um, it's listed 5 on here, but there's zero chance the sixth match is going to be the main event. Um,
yeah.
but this will probably be the main event, or at least it should be. Roman Reigns versus Cesaro for the WWE Universal Championship. What's your thoughts?
With Paulie dangerously on manager. Good match. I think definitely is very good for Roman Reigns and Cesaro. I'm thinking that they're still going to keep Roman Reigns just because of publicity purposes. I hope they give Cesaro the that Roman puts over Cesaro, but I'm still going to say that Roman Reigns is going to hold on to it. Um, you know, and well, I get if there's one thing I'll add is that if you want to gauge the match on how it's going to be, just take a look at Paul Heyman when they do the camera shots, because
Hmm.
Paulie, you're a good old NWA manager from the '80s. I mean, he's the best when it comes to the business and managing. So aside from corny, but that's kind of your good, really barometer on how this match is going to go. But I think they're going to keep Roman Reigns a little longer. I mean, I wish they give it to Cesaro, but hey, hey, hey.
I think Roman's gonna win. I hope they give this match time. I think if they give them, a
Mm-hmm.
good 15, 20 minutes at least, they could put
Yeah,
on a really, really
a
good match.
good 20-minute Broadway. Yeah.
Yeah, because, and we'll talk about this later, but the Daniel Bryan Roman match from SmackDown, it's been a few weeks now, was incredible. It was probably my favorite match as far as like the TV shows
Hmm.
of the year. It was how a wrestling match is supposed to be. I think that if they give them time, they both can put on a really good match. I love what they're doing with Roman right now. Like we said earlier, I wish they would have Cesaro on Raw and have him challenge for the WWE Championship. But it's unfortunate because this is one of those things where I want Cesaro to win because he 100% deserves it, but they are pushing Roman so hard right now, and he's got a new music, and he's it's a completely new version of Roman Reigns, which was desperately needed. And I think if you take the championship off of him right now, I think it's gonna ruin that, in my opinion. Not that I don't want Cesaro to win, but I just can't see them taking the title off of Roman right now. So I'm going to go with Roman there. Next match, which, like I said, this won't be the main event. And if it is the main event, you should all cancel your subscriptions if this is the main event over everything else. Damien Priest versus The Miz in a lumberjack match. Who do you think's going to win? And do you care?
The Miz.
You got The Miz to win, huh?
I got the Miz. I mean, okay, it's good. I mean, good that they got Damian Priest back in now after his little injury and everything. I mean, Damian Priest is a really good wrestler, but I'm definitely thinking that the Miz is going to come in and win that for sure. Just because I mean I think it's either because just because Damian Priest has been sitting out and stuff, and they either want to give him more time to recover, so it's going to be more the Miz doing the work, and then Damian Priest puts him over. But I still think overall, just the way creative thinking, who knows, the Miz.
I agree here. I think the pick that it should be was Priest, but this is the typical WWE not going with what it should be, but going with whatever they want, you know? So, I
Hmm.
mean, Damon Priest, I think, is a long term star, but like you said, he's coming off the injury and whatnot. He's finally breaking off from Bad Bunny, and we're finally moving on from that in some way, but I just can't see them consistently having him win without some kind of like screwy finish. You know what I mean? I think
Hmm.
that's what we're set up for here. Miz is going to win on some kind of, and it might even be, with the Lumberjacks.
Yeah.
Morrison, excuse me, they've been teasing a Morrison Miz breakup. Maybe Morrison helps him win, and then Miz says, "I didn't need you," or something like that. I don't know. I just have a gut feeling that this is going to be one of those screwy finishes that people don't expect, and I think they're going to give the Miz a victory here.
Yeah.
So that's Backlash. Who cares? I don't care. I don't even know if I'll watch that live.
Yeah.
Honestly,
It,
I might just wait and see
see the.
later if there's anything
Yeah.
good. But I don't know. But anyway, so let's jump into some of the more stuff here. Last night on, was it last night? What's today? Thursday? Yeah, so last night
Yes.
on Dynamite, Miro, who used to be Rusev, and I say that because not everybody knows who he is. Okay, not everybody watches AEW, so I'm just saying for you people who aren't aware. So don't get mad at me. Yes, I know he's not Rusev anymore. I'm just saying. But anyway, so Miro defeated Darby Allin for the TNT Championship. Do you have any thoughts on this? And what do you think? What do you think they're going to do with Darby now?
Uh, heck, I don't even know. That's how bad it is. That's just, I mean, just I can't say. I really can't say. Just uh, yeah. I
I
mean, there's,
think
there's yeah.
I think they're gonna have Darby in the main event picture. I don't think they're gonna give him the championship. I think they see him as a I don't want to say like pop icon, but I mean just as a relatable character, which is so hard to have on TV nowadays. I think his kind of punk style, he's like the newer. I know they have him with Sting, but to me, he's kind of similar to Jeff Hardy from the standpoint of, being different and all that. So, like I
Hmm.
said, I don't see him winning the main event, the AEW championship, but I see him in that picture. As far as Miro, I hope they finally treat him right here. He leaves WWE. He had a ton of potential. WWE, he could have been the main champion, but and I'm not the biggest fan of him, but he definitely had the potential. He's got the charisma. He's got all that. Hopefully, they use him right now because how they brought him into the company, I thought was horrible. I don't think they could have done a worse job, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I hope they do with him what they should from now on. He should just be dominant. He should just be wrecking through people. So
Hmm.
we'll see. I just I don't know. I mean, we talk about this all the time. They have stars. Can they use them right? I think this is another situation here. You got anything else to add on him winning the TNT
I
title?
I don't.
All right. Well, let's move on. We talked a little bit about SmackDown and that Daniel Bryan Roman match and how good it was. What did you think about Roman's new entrance, his new music and such?
It's interesting. I mean, I wonder how. I mean, it's kind of like I guess you could say it's like when WWE back in 2000 redid everyone's entrance music. I'd say it definitely gives a new, fresher appearance. Maybe like a gimmick. I think maybe they're leaning towards an updated gimmick for Roman. I think it might work out, but that's kind of really the feel I get when they update people's interest music. Is just I think it's usually that kind of foreshadows an updated gimmick, which for Roman's case it's a little overdue.
Yeah, I love it. I can't believe that they would do this on a random SmackDown, but other than that, I think the very the intro of the song, if you haven't heard it, please go check it out because it's worth a listen, I think. The intro is very like video game esque, like final boss is what everybody's saying. And I think that fits Roman perfect right now. I will say this, I think it's a little too light. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
once you get past the opening of like the really intense, like I don't even know what you would call it, like um I don't want to say opera, but that might be what it is. Orchestra, is that right? Is that what you
yeah,
would call it?
yeah. Yeah, either that or like an instrumental maybe or something like that.
Well, once you get past that first part, and you'll know what I'm talking about if you listen to it,
Yeah.
it just kind of gets into like a lighter like toned with the instruments, instead of I think what they should do is use this entrance they got him with right now as his face entrance,
Hmm.
with kind of the lighter like upbeat stuff. I think they should keep the intro part and keep the beat, but I would add like a lower like bass drum in it every once in a while, going with that like Samoan theme of what he's going with here, the tribal chief gimmick. I think it fits him perfect. That's my only complaint, but I think it makes him look and feel a lot more special. Do you think it makes him feels more special?
I mean, it definitely gives him a fresher look. I don't know if it makes him feel any more special than he is already, but I mean, it definitely is a much needed updated look.
So we had the great entrance. Well, actually no, let's not say that. The great entrance. That's another complaint here. They need to, for the love of God, excuse me. They need to change his Titantron, like uh
Oh yeah.
what, I don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm talking about. It's been the
Yeah.
same thing for the last like 6 years. Change it.
Mhm.
Change it. Like I understand they were probably pumped. They probably were like, "Oh my gosh, this is the greatest entrance music ever. It fits him perfect." Great. Everybody loves it. I've not heard anybody complain about it really other than like the stuff that I mentioned. I think it should be darker. Wait until SummerSlam, keep it and change his Titantron, change his, billboard and all that. It's the same thing. Nobody cares. If I didn't have, to me, like what they did with Bobby Lashley, because you know how he's got his new entrance with the lightning and it's very
Mhm.
like intense, I guess, it makes him look like a just like mythical creature, like, they need to do something like that with Roman now that you got the great music or whatever. Change his entrance because it's boring right now. It's
Absolutely.
boring. But anyway, um, the match itself, you didn't get a chance to watch it. I thought, like I told you, it was my favorite match of the year as far as regular TV. I'm serious with that. It was great back and forth. It wasn't slow. That's my biggest problem with a lot of these championship matches, one-on-one matches. It just seems so slow sometimes. I thought this flowed pretty good. I was very happy with this match as far as a fan because I didn't watch it live. I heard the hype and I was like, I guess I'll go back and check it out if I have to. And I genuinely enjoyed it. I don't think I've said that about a SmackDown or a Raw match in a while, enough to make me go back and watch it. So, but Roman ends up winning, and Daniel Bryan is gone. We talked about this a little bit on the last podcast, but it seems like his contract is up as well. So, do you think he's going to stay in WWE, or do you see him going to any other company?
Uh, I mean, well, let's see. Daniel Bryan, now that basically his contract is rolled and expired in a sense. I mean, he's technically a free agent now, so his opportunities are up in the air. To be honest, uh, I think what might happen is that they'll probably send him to Raw if he wants to stay in WWE. But given that Daniel Bryan wants, something, I feel like he wants something more realistic, something a little, that's a little more fashionable to older wrestling than the current product. So, um, there's a good chance he might jump to another independent promotion. I don't know if he'll go to AEW, so to say. But if they fork out enough dollar bills, I would not be surprised to see Daniel Bryan on Raw or NXT.
I definitely would like to see him in NXT. That would be incredible, but they need him on Raw. Raw is unwatchable.
Mm.
Unwatchable. Like for a while there, I was like, all right, I'm gonna watch it so we have something to talk about. I can't watch it. I genuinely can't watch it. It is that bad. So they need him on Raw, but for what's best for him would be NXT. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think the question is, does he want to keep going? Is he done with wrestling? I don't know. I think he can only answer that, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think it is a legit question. I don't know what's next for him. But, I mean, we'll see.
I mean, as it stands, like I said, I don't think he's going to go to AEW. I
I
really
don't
don't.
I don't
I,
think
I
so
think
either.
at this point, if he doesn't go to an independent promotion and WWE doesn't fork out, give him a deal that Daniel Bryan wants, I think he's going to call it a day.
Yeah, I could definitely see him moving into a maybe not trainer role, but a backstage assistant, if that makes sense. For some of these younger guys, because he's been known as far as like what you're hearing from the backstage stuff
Yeah.
as somebody who likes to help with guys and help push guys like Cesaro. Cesaro right now is facing Roman in the main event picture, and people were saying a lot of that is because of Daniel Bryan. So I could see him staying as that kind of role, maybe not there every week, but they could use him in that situation if he wants to. But as far as a competitor, I just don't see him risking his health if that's why he had to retire in the first place to go to a place like an AEW or a Ring of Honor. That's not necessarily at the highest level yet, especially not Ring of
Right.
Honor. I think Ring of Honor, if he's doing it, it would be a one or two match situation and leave, not a long term thing. Um, but yeah, so we'll see what he does there. A lot of interesting things now. Wrestling right now is kind of in that in between stage now that WrestleMania is over and they're not really building to SummerSlam quite yet. We're in the rough times, but it is what it is,
Mm.
I guess. But
It's
do you
only
have
gonna get
any?
rougher.
Do you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
Let's see. Did you see that? What was it? Was it a champagne truck or what was that on AEW? I mean, trying to recreate the beer truck scene or the in the. Oh, and they also did a milk truck on in back in the Attitude Era, but like they tried to do that in AEW, and it was like, what?
I saw the pictures. I didn't get to see that. I tried with AEW because I'm busy on Wednesday, so I try to go back and see highlights,
Yeah.
But I saw the picture of Chris Jericho standing on top. But I don't know. Did you see the actual video? Like what happened?
Uh, I forgot who was in the ring. I mean, my memory's a little hazy. Uh, birthday reasons why, but there was a group in the ring, and I think Jericho came to crash the party, and they just started spraying him down. Really, I'd have to go back and watch it just to really get a good idea. But it would appear as if that little stunt cost him some viewership because on the 5th of May, they had 1,090,000 viewers, and then all of a sudden on the 12th of May, which was yesterday, they had a pretty significant drop by 14% down to 936,000 views. So bad booking kills ratings. And when TNT is unhappy because AEW is rolling out all these surprises, well, this is the result we get.
I feel like they're stuck in that surprise mode right now.
Yeah, they want to surprise everybody, but unfortunately, the surprise is getting a little old. So,
It's almost like, it is bad booking, like you said, but it's almost like it's overbooking. Like they're overthinking everything. Seems like.
well, well, the problem is you got a bunch of people running the show that don't actually know how to book. That's the thing. And they're overthinking because they're trying to figure out, well, how did they do this? But you don't have anybody that actually knows, that really truly understands and knows all how to do how to do booking properly with the proper chemistry and everything.
Yeah.
So
All I know is that if Hangman Page doesn't have the AEW championship soon, they don't know what they're doing because when I watch their program consistently, he's the only one that I walk away from his matches or his promos and go, "Oh, that was nice." Which I mean that might not sound like a great thing, but I mean, I'm just being honest. He's the only performer, and they got a lot of great performers. We talk about this all the time, but he's the only one to me that I consistently enjoy. And I might be the only one, but that's just my opinion there. What do you think about that?
yeah, who knows? I mean, just what they really need is a new booker. just I mean, I mean, somebody please call Dutch Mantel or somebody, that actually understands how to do this, how to do proper booking, so that way they might actually have a shot. But having a 30-year-old guy that has a lot of money, that apparently just likes wrestling, do the booking just ain't gonna work. And enjoy my background microphone, picking up my telephone. So
Yeah, I think they just need more structure is all. I mean, we've talked about this so much, but I really do believe they have
they got
the
the people, but
people.
they ain't got
They don't have
but
they don't
they
have the outline yet. They don't have the formula. But
right,
who knows? We'll get there
yeah.
eventually. Um, Trying to think of what else. Did you have anything else on the list here?
Have you seen any of the Dark Side of the Ring episodes or any of the new documentaries?
I did not. I will say this. I did watch the Chris Benoit one from a while ago,
Hmm.
recently, and that whole situation, I mean, it sounds horrible, but to me, that whole situation fascinates me because, you know, I question how much of it is his steroid use versus his, losing Eddie and the whole mental health side of things because, I'm somebody who has and have at some point struggles with mental health and that kind of thing and depression and all that. And I can relate in a different way, So a lot of people can't really relate the same way as somebody who's dealt with similar things. Like I'm not saying that it is necessarily that, but I think that's kind of the question I think I'm trying to answer is how much of it from Chris Benoit's standpoint was the mental mind games you have, when you deal with all this stuff versus the effects of the steroids and all that stuff. Because it seemed like to me, based on the documentary, it seemed like it was more to do with Eddie and the unfortunate passing that he had because of how close they were. And it's just a crazy, crazy situation. Obviously, it's a horrible thing, but to me, I think people look at it more from saying, "Oh, well, Chris, he knew what he was doing and he's a horrible person." I don't think people understand, you know, mental health, and I'm trying to say this in the easiest way possible, but
Hmm.
when I talk about the stuff I've dealt with or dealing with or whatever, and I'm trying to explain to friends or whatever, and they ask, they can't understand. Nobody can understand unless you've been through it. And I think people just assume about Chris, and I think a lot of people are wrong. But it's just such a crazy situation that, because it's one thing, it would be horrible, obviously, if he just ended his own life. But to end his family's as well is the part that's kind of making me think it does lead more steroid um, effects and whatnot. But I, the saddest part from me, other than the situation itself, is his son and how the company has kind of blacklisted him, because I mean, it's not his son's fault. He didn't do anything wrong. I personally wished the WWE, WWF, which, at the time, would have really taken their son kind of under the wing as far as we understand it's not your fault. What he did was horrible, but we're here. I just felt like they handled that wrong. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely agree with that 100%.
It's just such a crazy situation. But that's the only one I've caught. I don't
Yeah,
know how many
I
others are there.
the one that came out recently during season 3, and I was a little excerpt from Cornet's podcast was they did one on Brian Pillman recently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and where they had Kim Wood, which was I believe the strength and conditioning coach from I think Pillman went to Miami University, which is a pretty medium sized college in Ohio.
Yeah.
And that was a strength and conditioning coach. I think he either went there, or he went to Cincinnati, which either one. But and and basically they had Kim Wood, which was really the one person that Bryan really connected to, and who really kind of was like his mentor through his entire life and stuff. And then after Bryan's car accident and everything, but I mean but like just listening to the producers that are doing Dark Side of Ring on and stuff when they went on Cornet's podcast, how they've when they first started the project, they were nothing. They were just just a couple of guys, just trying to get in contact. But now that the show's got, I mean, as I've noticed, the show has progressively gotten better and better and better, and not only that, but it's because now that they got, more credibility to themselves, they're able to get, the actual people that were really closely involved with these wrestlers at the time. And, it just really adds a um, certain amount of depth to the documentaries, and that's the one thing that's really starting to catch a lot more steam than just watching today's wrestling, is these documentaries about former wrestlers. Like they did one on Steve Austin on
Yeah.
A&E, and it was absolutely phenomenal. But these documentaries really kind of just shine a light on a lot of things that they fill in those really deeper gray areas that are not really commonly shown, that you really can't find anywhere, because when you get that first-hand account from someone that was there and actually really close to these people, it really just makes a difference in explaining what really happened, rather than just reading like a news report or anything like that, or something official like from WWE or whatever. So
Well, and now that you're seeing wrestlers leave the company and immediately go to podcasts and talk
mhm,
about it, I think CM Punk was the first one to do it and kind of opened up the door to this kind of tell all type deal. And what he talked about, you know, being concussed and injured, and then they want him to go out and work Brock Lesnar. And I mean, nothing against Brock Lesnar, but I mean, for the love of God, look at the guy. I mean, when you're wrestling hurt and then you're constantly being thrown in these situations, I think it's a real indictment on the company as a whole. And
mhm,
I think that's the biggest thing with AEW, that I think they have potential to really not take over, because I don't think they can ever take over, but
no,
they can get to a level where they can compete with the WWE, at least as far as today's terms, with Raw. SmackDown's now the A show. Raw's horrible.
yeah,
Raw's terrible. AEW, I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me. They might be doing that already, but I'm saying AEW can take over one or two of those shows if they want to, because of things like travel and health and stuff like that. That's a bigger deal to a lot of these guys than, okay, what am I doing on TV? What crap are they going to give me? People would rather, there's some guys who look at that as a challenge. Hey, I'm being given garbage, but I'm going to do my best with it.
mhm,
And I think, Dean Ambrose, who's now John Moxley, was one of the best at that. So it's just, I think AEW, if they can stay true to this, what they're supposed to be, a wrestler friendly organization, company, then they can potentially get to that next level. But to me, it's easy to fall into the trap, because now that stuff is starting to open back up, or at least hopefully, once shows start hitting the road again, if they start having success, it's going to be easy for them to fall into the trap of saying, all right, well, we're going to start running house shows every night. But I think if they don't do that, if they can stick to what their plan is here, they can, like I said, possibly compete in some way. You know what I mean?
mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when you kind of provide that insight, it does some good.
I think the biggest thing is there's just so many people who have watched the product, and I feel like nowadays it's just, there's no new audience. I mean, there's just no new audience. It's always the people who watched it when
It's
they were
just
younger
it's
and
just a
check it out. Yeah.
just a diehard wrestling fan. That's about it. They just go down with the Titanic. That's
So
that's the kind of group that watches it now. So
I think if you play to that audience and you do things that me and you know and people who are going to watch this know is right, then I think people would jump on. Because I think, most people, and I don't know how many of you guys listening, or Cole, even if you know him, but there's
Hmm.
there's a guy on YouTube who started his channel talking about wrestling and doing reviews and stuff like that. His name is Tyrone Magnus, right?
Hmm.
He's got like 2 million subscribers. Do you think he's talking about wrestling anymore?
Hmm. I, I mean, maybe partially, but I don't. I think he's might have expanded onto other ventures.
Yeah, he gave up on wrestling because it was so bad. And this is somebody who started on YouTube, putting time and effort and hard work into making reviews and covering this kind of stuff. If you're driving off people like that, what happens to the casual fan who couldn't care less if they watched your show or not? That's the problem now. And I think you can get those kind of viewers back. Like I think if things got right and they were doing storylines right and wrestling got back to how it should be, those people like him who used to love it and just couldn't, cuz I remember a time where if I missed an episode, it was like the end of the world because it was that good as far as they followed up on stuff and there was an actual storyline that you couldn't wait to see what was next. There's none of that anymore. None.
Yep. Yeah, the state of the wrestling business ain't what it used to be. It ain't what it used to be back in the '80s when you had, this was another point that I heard recently was that have you noticed that when the budgets get larger and there's more money involved, how fake and scripted wrestling becomes?
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
more of a performance.
like I mean, you look at stuff from back in the '70s and '80s with Memphis Wrestling, Jim Crockett Promotions, the old school NWA stuff where you didn't really have much of a budget to work with. So you had to improvise, and it was the whole point of improvisation that made wrestling so good because it instead of, this phony scripted junk that were being force fed, when you allow that, outside of the box thinking to come out and you have to like do a lot of improvisation, it forces you to be more natural with your gimmick. Like, Ric Flair, for example, what you saw in the 80s, 1987, Ric Flair, with the way he was on television on Worldwide Wrestling compared to the person he was outside of the wrestling ring, it's almost the identical person. That was Ric Flair was who he was on television. In person, anywhere you went, that was the man. But now you look at today, and like especially when they had that, when that the rain delay during WrestleMania, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you, it was clear as a summer's day that you could tell that when they told people to make stuff up, they were lost like a deer in the headlights.
But WWE has to blame themselves. They have the opportunity to say, "Hey, Drew McIntyre, you're a great wrestler. You've been doing this for years. Go get yourself over."
Hmm.
But they don't let the wrestlers do their jobs, and that's why they're stuck in this situation. Then when you have a situation like that where you're rained out, and you got to improvise. That's why guys like Kevin Owens did the best jobs
Hmm.
because
Because
he's been doing it.
exactly right. Back when he was in Ring of Honor, I mean, like that's That's how it was. I mean, but
Now
now,
just imagine if he did that good, and I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
you're fine.
But I'm saying, just imagine if he was that good on the spot last minute. Imagine if he had time and he could think it through. This is what they're missing out on. And this is the stuff that everybody gets so upset about because you see these glimpses of stuff like that with certain guys. Now, other people it was horrible. You go back and we talked about it. But and then you have some that are just great. Now, if you let the people, I mean, would you think Stone Cold Steve Austin got over because they were handing him scripts and he was reading it line by line? No, he didn't. He didn't.
No, he got over by being exactly who he was, a beer drinking South Texan.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So they do this to themselves, and it's their own fault. And you know what? Whenever Triple H takes over, which I think that's probably a done deal by now that he's going to be the one taking over. I can't imagine that he wouldn't. Because I don't think Stephanie would want to do the booking side of things, and I can't imagine that Shane would. I mean, I could see Shane doing business stuff, but I just think Triple H is going to be the booking guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I think it will get better at some point, and we don't wish for anything to go wrong with anybody, but there's got to be a point where Vince takes a step back and realizes what the viewership was with your TV show way back when versus now. It's not that the people aren't interested, because if you put on a good show, people would be watching.
Oh
People
yeah.
would 100% be watching. Half a year we've been in this horrible time in life with this crap for a year now or more. And if somebody had a good wrestling program that they could go home and watch on a Monday night or Friday night, they would. They would, but they don't have that. So that's why your viewership sucks. It's not because people aren't interested. It's because that people don't it's not good enough. And that's what I think they just don't realize. I think they just assume that it's you know, everything's changing and people aren't interested anymore. I
Yeah.
think people are becoming, I mean, if you buy a classic wrestling shirt, and I have a few, if I wore them out in public, I might get hey, nice shirt, whatever. If I wore a um I'm just trying to think of somebody off the top of my head.
A
If I
Sami Zayn shirt, for
Yeah, nobody would care. Nobody would know.
example.
Like, I mean, am I wrong?
No,
I'm right.
absolutely.
But why is that? It's not because people are stuck on the good old days. It's because they have nothing new. That's why the only reason why people have, I would say the WWE network, but it's Peacock now. The only reason why people have that is to go back and watch the old stuff. That's what I did the other day. I went back and watched CM Punk versus Cena from Money in the Bank in Chicago. I mean, that's not
Yeah,
even that old. That's 2011. I mean, that's not. I mean, it seems old now. What is that? 10 years ago
10
now.
years ago. Yeah.
But even just 10 years ago, your company was so much better. And I don't want to hear about your financials. You might be in the best spot financially now, but your product sucks. And that's just the simplest way to put it.
It's like Jim Hurd running WCW all over again.
But anyway, is there anything else you got to say before
I'm
we wrap this up? We're heading on an
I'm
hour here.
I'm done rambling.
All right. I think I am too. I think I'm going to try to cut this up into clips and hopefully, um, we'll do a predictions clip and maybe talk
Yeah,
about
absolutely.
just to see if anybody else catches on, because
That'll be good.
it's been it's been kind of random as far as viewership for our
Hmm.
podcast here. I know we're still new, and I appreciate everybody watching. If you're still watching, go ahead and let us know. But we're I mean, I think since the first one, it's gotten a lot, even in just the small ways. I think it's been gotten better. So we're getting better and we're building. So I mean, it is what it is. It's not as much going off of viewership and whatnot right now. It's just getting comfortable doing it. So, but anyway,
Absolutely.
so that's it for me. Anything else you want to say?
Nope. Saddle on and carry on to the sunset.
Yep. So we'll have another one out probably sometime next week. We'll have our reaction to what's probably going to be a horrible pay per view, and what's next to complain about in the world of wrestling, because there's going to be something. So thanks for watching, everybody, and we will see you in the next one.